I offer myself at the divine lotus feet of my dearest divine mother, father, friend, guide, and Lord, Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Sai Ram, everyone. Respected elders, dear brothers and sisters, I was asked to speak about seva, service. So while I'll be talking about service, the real service is going on. The service is happening, I'm just talking about service. So an earnest thought could be, well, why even bother talking about service? Service is something we should be doing, not talking about. And I think that's a very relevant question. So let me see if I can advance my slides. So I wanted to touch on a few different items. Bhagwan has come for so many reasons. Obviously, the main reason is to support the devotee. And he's set the example. That's one of the most powerful ways that he's helped us, is by being the example himself. So I think we'll touch a little bit about Swami setting the example on seva. And then, of course, what has he said about seva, the guidance that he's giving for seva. And then moving forward, Sri Devi and some of the videos will touch upon what we can do regarding seva, service to man. So Swami set the example for seva. Everything he did was an example. That's one of the boons of being an avatar, is you teach by precept, by what you do. And so we just observe Swami. So what did he do? He set up educare, schools, university systems, Bal Vikas programs, Satya Sai Vidya Vahini, social care projects, free meals, housing, water projects, disaster relief. He did nothing but seva. His life was a seva. He sacrificed his body from the time he was just a child till the time he left that body for nothing but seva and sacrifice. And so we won't have time to go through all of this, but I do want to touch a little bit about the medical aspect and what I've learned from Bhagwan. So the general hospital, of course, Mother Ishwarama had this pure desire. The people in the village had to travel so far for childbirth, and Bhagwan started the general hospital in 1956. And I think even those of us that have known Swami for quite some time, we may even start taking for granted all the seva that's currently going on in Prashanti Nilayam. The general hospital, since its inception, has seen 10 million people, 350,000 patients, doing multiple specialties, and this is ongoing, year after year, even after Mahasamadhi. Seva is going on like never before. The super specialty hospital, of course, we all know the stories of Bhagwan, how it was constructed in 6 months, a phenomenal temple of healing. Every day they're doing major operations. And any of us that have had the misfortune of our family members or us dealing with healthcare, it's very expensive. It's much more expensive now than it was when Bhagwan started these institutions. And day in, day out, free medical care is being provided without any fanfare. Nobody talks about it. In Prashanti, they have multiple specialties. And it's ongoing. It's constantly being updated. Just last year, they added a brand new coronary road back machine, a heart and lung machine, an OCT machine. Constantly the best of the best is what Bhagwan wants the poorest of the poor to receive. So the mobile hospital, of course, started in April 2006. Beautiful project that should be modeled around the world. 600 doctors rotate on a very scheduled basis. Every first 12 days of the month, they have a circuit of villages that they go to, multiple specialties, giving care to where the patients are. What a novelty. Go to the patient with the best of care. So what are the lessons from all of these things? What did Swami show us? Top quality. Seva has to be top quality. We never give somebody a service or a product that we would not feel blessed to receive ourselves. Completely free of charge. No strings attached. Value-based. Love, compassion have to be the basis. Otherwise, it's not seva. Universal, regardless of who you're serving. Holistic. Not only do we focus on the body and the bodily needs, but more importantly, focus on the mind and the spirit. So what has Swami taught us about seva? We could go for the rest of the afternoon into the evening just to touch on what Bhagwan has taught about seva. And so I thought I'd just cull a few of his specific quotes. There's nothing like Swami's own quotes to teach, rather than me trying to filter in my words the cogent, beautiful, perfect message of Bhagwan. So what are some questions we can have about seva? Well, first of all, what is the best spiritual practice? What is the best spiritual practice? And Swami in 1965 said, love more and more people. Love them more and more intensely. Transform the love into service. Transform the service into your worship. That is the highest spiritual practice. So love is the basis, freely given. That love itself is the basis for service. In 1968, Bhagwan said, try to assuage as far as you can the distress of others. It is the best sadhana for the aspirant. Because we are God, everyone around us is God, everything around us is God. So when there's suffering outside of us and we don't feel that suffering inside of us, then we're not on the boat yet. We have to feel the pain of the others, and that drives us into seva because of our love. In Prema Vahini, Bhagwan says, pure, noble, selfless action is authentic worship, or puja. So puja, how is Swami defining puja? Selfless action. It is the best form of remembering the Lord. It is the highest devotional song. It spreads love without distinction and difference. So why? Why is seva? Why is seva the best spiritual practice? Swami says, ignoring the sufferings of others. If you engage yourself in meditation or other devotional activity, it has no spiritual value at all. It is only one form of selfishness. So even sitting down and trying to meditate, Bhagwan has said, if there's a need outside, you're trying to sit there and focus your mind on meditation, you're better off doing seva. It's much more productive, not only for society, but for yourself. Bhagwan says the satisfaction that you get by participating in bhajans is temporary, whereas service confers permanent satisfaction. Bhagwan says, remember, seva is more fruitful than japa, dhyana, yajna, yaga. That's usually been recommended. Why? Because it serves two purposes: the extinction of the ego and the attainment of ananda, or bliss. So what should prompt our service? What should be prompting us to do service? Really speaking, only those who are afflicted with agony, equal agony, at the sight of pain and suffering, distress or disease, have the right to offer service. For they are not serving others. They are serving themselves, serving to remove as fast and as intelligently as they can their own agony. It is not good to keep quiet when there are people around in society facing hardships. If need be, you should give up japa and sadhana and uplift such people through service and sacrifice. So how is sacrifice and service, how are they related? How is sacrifice related to service? Through the process of giving up great things, can be achieved. So Bhagwan has said, man plus mind is God. So man has to remove things. You don't have to acquire things to let that inner divinity shine. We have to get rid of things, and that what we have to get rid of is our ego, our attachment. And nothing is more powerful than seva to help us unload all of that excess baggage that we have. Greatness lies in sacrifice alone. It is only sacrifice that confers immortality. Serve in your respective villages. Service does not mean sweeping the roads, cleaning the temple, or feeding the poor. Discharging one's duty sincerely is true service, right? So some of these outer things we're doing, we have to realize there's something inner in our outer things. Yes, it's good to feed the poor. Yes, it's good to clean the temple. But we have to see beyond that, from a spiritual perspective. What are we doing? What are we trying to achieve? And Swami says, without the inspiration of the sense of sacrifice, your seva will be a hypocrisy, a hollow ritual. Just like when the students were talking about bhajans, what was the most important quality? Bhava. Without bhava, the tala, the rhythm and the beat is superfluous. Same thing in seva. Without that sense of sacrifice, it's hollow. It's just an act. So Bhagwan related a story, a wonderful story of 3 people that reach the gates of heaven. So they're escorted up to the gates of heaven to be led into heaven. But the person at the gate is asking a question to each of them. Why should you be let in? So the first person said, I am a great scholar. I've memorized the Vedas. I've memorized the Gita. I can relate any quote to any circumstance. The person at the gate said, you did not put anything into practice. You may leave. Didn't get entrance. Second person comes in and was asked, why should you be led into the gates of heaven? And the second person says, I've performed many yagas and yagnas and arranged them and performed them to the scriptural injunctions, to the T. And the person said, you've done this all for personal gain. You may move on. The last person timidly said, was asked the same question. He timidly said, I'm a farmer. I own a couple of acres of land, just enough to sustain myself and my family. If people come by, passers-by on the journey, I'll give them what little food I have, some little water that I have to sustain their journey. I don't know how to read. I don't know any scriptures. I haven't done any yagas. The man said, you may enter the gates of heaven. Personally, if we have had the good fortune to see Bhagwan, to visit Prashanti, for many of us, Prashanti is like what do they call it? A factory, where you get chiseled. You get chiseled in Prashanti. And so one of these instances is one of the medical camps, one of the first medical camps I had gone to. And usually before the duty is in the hospital, I think the duty started at 8, but Bhagwan would give his darshan at 7. So we were all sitting there. The ladies would be on the ladies' side, the gents would be on the gents' side. And we had gone. We were supposed to be there for 10, 12 days. We had gone many, many days, and Swami really hadn't given us much attention in darshan. And so finally, we got the word. The leader of our group is Dr. Radha Bettina. And Swami would always talk to her. And he granted the doctors an interview. So they called Dr. Radha. All the ladies went up to the veranda. We were sitting on the men's side. So of course, we were so excited. Wow, we're finally going to get attention from Swami. He's going to, we've been called for an interview. But no word came for the men. So Swami takes the ladies into the interview room. We're sitting there, traditionally when you have one group, as soon as the group leader gets called, everybody goes. So for whatever reason, nobody called us. We're sitting there waiting and waiting. And then it was 8 o'clock. It was our time to report, to start at the hospital. And so, we were having a little bit of an exchange. What do we do? Swami called for an interview. You should be calling us any minute now. And luckily, the wisdom of the elders of the group said, it's 8 o'clock. We have to do our duty. And so we did our duty. We left and missed out on the interview. So of course, when you do the right thing, Swami in his own time will reward you. So and then we find this out later on, that the ladies were talking and they had like an hour-long interview. And usually, the ladies always do much more seva than the guys, we'll have to admit it, So they were always, the guys are bantering, sharing jokes, seeing patients in between. The ladies are putting their head down, working hard all the time. So Swami rewarded the ladies. But Swami told the ladies in the interview room, because they of course, the ladies were on their coattails. So they're asking on our behalf, Swami, what about the men? Are you going to invite the men? And Swami told them, they'll have their time. And then at the end of the interview, Swami said, we'll invite everybody tomorrow. So he did reward us. So the following day, our group did get an interview. But the test was there. The test is, are you going to be looking for something for your own gain, or are you going to be doing your duty? Our duty was to be on time to serve the patients. Another short story, more of a personal story. One of the medical camps that I had gone to, we were told ahead of time that we were going to have an interview. And we were supposed to line up at a certain time, and I get a call through the network that there's a patient that's not doing well, that has a problem, and I was the only ENT surgeon there. So it was my chance to have an interview with Bhagwan. I get called out. So I couldn't be in the line. I left, went to attend to the patient, and spent about half an hour and did whatever I could. And then I thought, this wasn't my time to have an interview. And as I came back, they still hadn't been called in. They were just called in just as I came back, even though it was like an hour, half an hour, 40 minutes had gone by. Swami had waited and just called them. So I saw them going in, and I was able to run up, and I was the last person to enter the interview room. So again, the test is there. I could have easily said, no, I'll see the patient this evening, right? I'll see them later. My needs come first, then everybody else's. But right, Swami says joy, Jesus first, others second, and yourself last. So these tests are always going on, and Swami is just waiting to, so that we can pass the talk. This morning, Brother Girish talked about earning merit to receive the grace. Right? And so, Swami, to add to that, Swami is waiting for us to earn merit. Metaphorically, he's on the edge of his seat. He's dying for us to earn merit, because all he wants to do is give us grace. He can't wait to shower grace. But we have to take that first step, and he's always waiting for us to take that first step. But he wants us to, and that's one of the reasons that Swami made the organization, right? I haven't had, unlike these blessed souls, I've had very minimal physical contact with Bhagwan. And so we're so fortunate to be born, as we talked this morning, to be born at the time of the avatar, to be aware of the avatar, to worship the avatar. Even more fortunate for very few blessed souls is to serve the avatar, right? And of course, who's serving who? He's giving us an opportunity. He's giving us an excuse. To be able to serve the avatar is the most rare opportunity. But Swami has said the organization is no different than me. So he creates an organization so we can earn the boon and the merit of serving the avatar. So by serving the organization, we earn so much bonus merit because now we're serving the avatar. And again, it's not for his benefit, it's for our benefit. So how is surrender related to service? We should perform all the tasks laid upon us as our duty. And it's not right to neglect our duty, to sit idly and say you've surrendered everything to the Lord. If you have the feeling that all the work you do is to please God, then that is the right aspect of surrender. So surrender is really everything we're doing for you. The more deeply one is attached to the fruit, the more intense and painful is one's grief when one is disappointed. So we can't be attached. Just like Swami says, you're a principal in the school. When it's your time to leave, you're not crying because you're leaving the desk behind. You're not crying because you're leaving the file behind. You were just entrusted to do that duty. You're not attached to that. That's how we should be with everything. We're not attached to any of these things. We're entrusted to do the duty that we've been given. Why do you hold yourself responsible for the results? He prompted it. He got it done through you. He will give whatever results he feels he must. So this is a story, Dr. Upadhyaya, many of you may know Dr. Upadhyaya, is a wonderful role model for mine for many, many years. And he related this story where he would do many medical camps and then come back and report to Bhagwan, to give them an update about what happened at the medical camp. And Bhagwan asked him a question: what's the difference between, let me see if I remember it correctly. What is the difference, what is the difference between medicine and chocolate? What is the difference? What is the difference between medicine and chocolate? And Dr. Upadhyaya, being very mature, didn't say anything. And then Bhagwan would answer his own question. And he says, the difference is, if you don't have enough chocolate, say you have 10 kids and you only have 5 pieces of chocolate, you divide it in half and you make everybody happy by giving 10 half pieces. You can't do that with medicine. If you have enough medicine for 5 people, and 10 people come, you can't divide the medicine in half. Medicine doesn't work that way. So he said, similarly, when you see more patients than you, if you're ready to run out of medicine or supplies or something, you don't sacrifice the quality or the quantity. You give the right treatment for the first 5. The next 5 is my business, right? And just, he said, like if you're a doctor and you see a medical problem of the eyes, but you're not an eye doctor, what do? You put in a consultation for an eye doctor, right? So when a patient comes and you're out of medicine, you give the patient vibhuti. And then Swami himself asked, well, what if you say he doesn't have any faith in the vibhuti? Swami says, you give the vibhuti anyway. That is my business. You give the vibhuti. So the crux of the story is you have faith, you do it properly, and then anything beyond your capacity, he will take care of. Another story, one of the students had related this story. We all know about the Grama Seva, where we feed the villages. And so one of the tasks, the organizer's tasks, is to make sure all the supplies have been procured and organized and available for the Seva to occur without glitches. And so for whatever reason, the day before the Grama Seva was going to start, they were getting everything assembled the night before, late into the night, and they realized they're short by 200 leaves. I guess they had leaves that they would package the food or something. So there were leaves that were required, and they were short by 200. And this was like late at night, early in the morning. What could they do? So they were, feeling horrible that they were going to be short on what they needed. So they prayed, and that's all they could do. They were feeling horrible, and then this old man shows up and says, "Are you looking for leaves?" And he directed them to this old woman's house who happened to have 200 leaves. And the evening after the Grama Seva was done, Swami had called the boys in for an interview, and Swami said something like, bad planning, bad planning, bad planning. I had to come and show you where to get 200 leaves. So again, we can mess up, even though we should try our best and be meticulous and do our best. We have to give the best effort. But if we fall short, Bhagwan is all merciful, all merciful. And that happens so many times in the medical camps. He comes in at the right time with the right medicine that we never packed in the first place. Stories like that happen all the time. So what is considered service? Any work undertaken without discriminating it to be personal work or God's work is service. Any little service performed with love is enough. If you give a glass of water to a thirsty person with genuine love, it's more than enough. So we don't have to get fancy with our service. Bhagwan is not after that, glitter in seva. Service does not mean helping with hands alone. Talk softly and sweetly. Speak good words. That is also a form of service. So this is a great, I'm sure you've heard this story during the construction of the super specialty hospital. They were planning the hospital, they were getting everything together, and Swami would give updates to the boys in the interviews and all this excitement and fervor about this new specialty hospital coming up. And one of the 8th grade boys was feeling sad. It's like, all of these people are giving so much for this hospital that Bhagwan is creating. I haven't been able to give anything. So he decided every week to take the 25 rupees he would give for his laundry, and he would wash his clothes himself. And in 4 weeks, he saved enough for 100 rupees. And he wrote Swami a letter, and he said, Swami, I want to be able to give something for your hospital, and here's 100 rupees. And he held the letter, and Swami took the letter in line during darshan. And Swami held the letter for the longest time. And then Swami opened the letter, asked for the microphone, read the letter out loud. And he said, this is more than any that I've ever received. I am so happy. He just praised and praised. So what is Swami looking for? I mean, people were offering millions and millions of dollars, and some of which he would refuse. But this boy had 100 rupees, and Swami went out of his way to say, this is the best donation, this is making him so happy. So what is Swami looking for? For whose sake do we do service? You are doing seva for your own sake. You are engaged in seva in order that you may become aware of the Atman in you, in order that you may discard the allurements of your ego, in order to know yourself and to get the answer to the question that torments you, namely, who am I? You do not serve others, you serve yourselves. You do not serve the world, you serve your own best interest. Consult your conscience and see whether you are rendering proper service. I do not want anything to be done for Swami's sake. My only object is promotion for the welfare of mankind. What is our prerequisite? What qualifications do we need for service? And Sri Devi is going to give me a 5-minute warning. Okay. The first requisite is genuine spirit of love and fellow feeling. If there's no kindness and compassion, whatever service is done is an artificial exercise for publicity or recognition. Sai Sevaks do not need name or position. Ostentation in rendering service is totally out of place. It will only inflate the ego. You should render service to the limit of your capacity, nothing more, nothing less. The first quality every member of the Sathya Sai Seva organization should have is firm faith in God. That faith must be based on the awareness that God is omnipresent, that the divinity, the divine pervades everything. That's really the root of seva. We're doing seva to realize that you and I are no different, from I to we to he. How do we do service? While doing seva, so this is more of a practical thing. When we're doing a seva project, we're always doing seva at the centers. We're always collaborating. So this is a more less philosophical, more practical advice Swami is giving. While doing seva, do not argue that this particular task is yours and that is not. Do not be sticklers for boundaries and limits. Support and complement each other in joyful cooperation. Act as ideal satsanga infusing energy and enthusiasm to all. Also, do not carry a greater burden than that is allotted to you, and do not interfere with what other people are doing or criticize others. Malice, envy, competition must have no place in your heart. The center down the road did it that way, we're going to do it better our way, right? Do not rush about discovering faults where none exists. That is misdirected enthusiasm. Spread peace and joy. So what attitude should we have? It is only when your motives are pure that the divine will extend his grace. Whatever service you render, it must be unsullied. The motive is all important. The form of action does not matter. Without pure impulses, actions get tainted at the very source. So, who should we serve? In rendering seva, you should not think that the services should be confined to the poor and the destitute. There is no need to make any artificial distinction between the rich and the poor in the sphere of service. What matters is the service done to a person who needs it. So the need is the qualification. Service rendered to villagers who are denied the ways and means of decent lives draws divine grace. More than service elsewhere. Give a helping hand to the helpless who are afflicted with many ailments and handicaps. No excellence lies in helping people who have helped you. One has to help those who have hurt you. We should be doing seva to those that are out to harm us. What about quantity versus quality? It is not the quantity of service, nor the variety. It is the inner joy. The act of service is to be judged not by advertisement, cost spent. It's just the need of the recipient and the feeling of the person who serves. So I want to go ahead and jump ahead to another story. Many years ago in the ashram, in the early days, there were not too many people living in the ashram. And Swami asked the caretaker of the ashram, he was not happy. He wanted all the residents of the ashram to be brought into the bhajan hall, the mandir. They brought everybody into the mandir, they closed the shutters, they closed the door, and Mr. Kutumba Rao, I think, was the caretaker at the time, and he started addressing all the ashram, all the full-time residents of Prashanti Nilayam. And he says, Swami is very appreciative that all of you have given up your lives and moved to Prashanti Nilayam, but Swami is not happy with you. You're gossiping, you're talking about idle matters, you're not doing your sadhana the way Swami wants you to do it. And none of you are doing enough for Swami. So Swami interrupted Mr. Kutumba Rao, and Swami then got up to address everyone. And he said, everything Kutumba Rao said is correct, except for the last part. None of you should be doing anything. Swami doesn't need any of you to do anything for Swami. In fact, all of these are just opportunities I create so you can redeem your lives. In fact, it's more difficult for me to allow you to do these things. It makes my job harder. I can easily accomplish things without you in a much more expedient fashion. Swami said in Rama's time, this is Swami speaking, all Rama would have to do is snap his finger and say, may Ravana perish and may Sita be brought before me. And it would have happened in a trifle. But Rama didn't do that. Rama let this whole play come out. So many people had the opportunity to redeem their lives. And so this is a sacred opportunity that we have to redeem our lives. None of us should ever think that Swami needs us to do anything. It's a privilege we're being granted to redeem our lives. I think that's something we should every day remind ourselves in whatever position we have in the organization, that this is for me to redeem my life. And the last thing I want to do is disappoint Bhagwan. So what is the checklist for service? You need the heart, you need the hand, and you need the hands. Tests and challenges will always be there. Swami loves to test us. He loves to test us. And in My Dear Students, Bhagwan talks a little bit about the test is the taste of God. Why does Swami test us? He says it is to protect you, not trouble you. Bhagwan doesn't want to trouble you. He wants to protect you so you can become stronger and more resilient. He wants you to develop your confidence. When you pass the test and face the test, you become stronger. He wants you to set an ideal for others. When you get put through a real severe trial and people know you're a Bhagwan's devotee and you exhibit your behavior in a certain manner, you are setting an example on Swami's behalf. And to strengthen your patience and strengthen your devotion. And ultimately to help you progress. You cannot progress to the next grade without tests. Same thing with the Lord. The tests are there to help you progress to the higher stage. And again, none of these tests are for Bhagwan's benefit. It's for our benefit. So let's end with a prayer and say collectively, let's together pray to Bhagwan. Swami, please help guide us so we can have selfless intentions. Please help us to make that initial effort and moving and take the action. Please allow us to try our best at all times with sincerity, and may we offer everything to you, Bhagwan, and surrender and pray to you always. With that, I'll turn it back over to Sri Devi. Jai Sai Ram.